Spring has finally sprung in my garden. It is a crucial time for gardeners to get started and prepare the garden for the new growing season. Today, I'll share some of the things I'm doing in my garden during this time. Just a disclaimer, I don't want to give the wrong idea that these tasks must be done now and put you in stress. Sometimes I feel so after watching other YouTubers. The things I'm sharing could also be done later, depending on your priority. There are certain things where timing is important in gardening, but the whole idea of this video is to share some things that could be done before the summer starts and it gets too busy. The first task would be to clean out the garden. During the winter, when it gets rainy and especially windy, the garden collects a lot of leaves, debris, twigs, plastics, and whatnot from the whole neighborhood. Last winter, I did not mulch my garden, and these leaves acted as a natural mulch for me. I can see clear difference between the areas where it was covered by these leaves and where it was not. Spring would be a good time to clean out the garden, remove dead plants and foliage so that we have a clean canvas for the new growing season. Second task we could do would be to remove the weeds. Along with the beautiful spring blooms, the weeds also have the right conditions to grow in the garden. Before it goes out of hand, it is time to remove them. I would also remove all the plants that I don't want in my garden anymore. For example, this year, I'm removing all the grass and crops in the middle part of this bed since I'm planning to change the layout of this area and do some landscaping. I'm careful while removing the plants because all the flowering plants that I wish to retain are planted elsewhere in the same bed. That being said, now would also be a good time to move any perennials if you want to move them. I rearranged my perennials, moved a peony from the center of the bed to the left side, moved gladiolus, bleeding heart, since I said I want to change the layout of this bed soon. The transplant shock will be the minimum when it is cold outside because they are anyway in their dormant state. The poppies have self-seeded, but I don't want them here. I'm moving them from the center of the bed to the right side of the bed. Let's also not forget to take care of the perennials. Roses, hydrangeas need a good prune. I did the pruning in fall and they have started to put out new growth already. If it is not done yet, don't worry, you can do it now. I'm also pruning the strawberries and mint. Also fertilize the perennials during the spring when it is warm outside. During this time, they put out shoots and new growth. I layer some compost which will supplement them with enough nutrients to give beautiful blooms. The fact that I like about spring garden is that there is enough rain and the task of watering is taken care by nature, mostly. There might be some days when it does not rain. During that time, the soil can go dry. So keep a watch on the weather and water the plants if it gets too dry. Spring is the time to check on our compost as well. Give it a turn if needed. I do bokashi composting and thereafter I mix it with soil in buckets since I don't have space for a traditional compost. The compost which I started in November has fully decomposed and is now ready to be used. I store them away in plastic bags like this one so that the buckets become free for a new batch of compost. I've made a detailed video about bokashi composting. I'll link it here in case if you are interested. I'm starting a new batch now because spring is a season where we need a lot of compost to fertilize the perennials, replenish the soil, prepare our garden beds and containers for the new season. That brings me to the next point. I like to prepare my garden beds and containers during the spring. After cleaning them out, I give a thick layer of compost and replenish the soil. I sometimes add coco peat and vermiculite to the mixture depending on the condition of the bed. Do not forget the containers if you have them around. I replenish the soil with some good compost or bokashi mix. Mulch the garden. This is a very important step which I did not do last year for some reason, but because of which my garden turned out too dry during the summer. Mulching also keeps weeds to a minimum. I'll be adding a thick layer of mulch to my garden beds this spring. Next possible task in my list would be to clean patios or pathways or balconies. Remove all the leaves, debris and spider webs, most importantly collected over the winter. My patio tends to turn to a green color over the year. I give them a good scrub during this time of the year to remove them and to give a cleaner look. I do not have a pressure pump with me, but I might try to rent it out this year. If they are stubborn greens, I use vinegar or baking soda to remove them. It is also time to clean and declutter the garden storage, tools, seeds, seed labels, and get everything ready for the growing season so that we know exactly what we have and don't have. Spring would also be a good time to take up any new garden projects and ideas, like changing the layout of the garden, put in new beds, change the old ones, add new pathways, add new fixtures to the garden. Now we have an empty, clean canvas, and in no time they'll be covered with plants. At that time, it'll be difficult to bring any changes. It is also time to repair if anything got damaged. For example, I have this garden storage cupboard. The door fell off during the summer. I admit it is of a cheap quality, but I plan to continue using it by building it a new door. Now would be the time to do that. Next on the list would be one of the most important one for vegetable garden to start sowing seeds. There are a lot of seeds to start during the spring to give them a head start before putting them out in the garden like tomatoes, chilies. There are also a lot of seeds that can be sown directly outside like carrots, radishes, spinach if you want to grow them. So start sowing seeds if you're planning to grow some annuals this year. I have a whole playlist of monthly sowing of seeds and also a sowing calendar that you can download for free. Links will be in the description below. And last thing on my list would be to plan out your garden. Whether you have a small or a big garden doesn't matter. If you're growing vegetables, planning out your garden can save space, time, and resources. Winter was the ideal time for it, but if you're like me and have procrastinated this task, it is not too late. I'm still in the process of planning my garden, and once I am done with it, I'll make a video on that. Hope I could give you some motivation to get out in the garden and tackle some tasks. As I said in the beginning, the intention of this video is not to put you in stress and to give you an idea that you are lagging behind, but just to give some inspiration and ideas for the garden. Let me know if I missed out something that could be done during this time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next. Bye and take care.